name tag just trying to run away, so we're going to do that right there. Hey, thank you all for having me today. My purpose of coming is just sort of give everybody a general update on how the schools are going. I'm not selling anything today, nor am I asking you for anything in particular, but you know, that may come another day. So we'll see what that comes with that. So I've got a whole pile of information here. I'm going to kind of run through it, but feel free to stop me with a question anytime you want as we go through it. It's kind of just a general overview of how things are going. And I can say that things are generally going pretty well. The young ladies here set me up with a couple things that we'll talk about pretty well that I think you'll be excited about. We have our share of challenges though, but for the most part, things are going well. We'll talk about it in a second. Now, I don't know that everybody is aware of our new vision statement. We put this together a couple years ago, working with kind of a large community group, and it really boiled down to these 6 words, these 3 statements of what we want to see ourselves be as your education system here in the city of Redmond and other communities. So the idea first about thriving students is students that are well taken care of, students that are mentally and physically in good shape, people whose wellness we're paying attention to. That's what thriving student means. How are people thinking? How are they surviving? How are they getting their needs met? The other next thing is engaged community, and this is something that's not overly common. I don't know I'm going to do well with your camera because I like to move. So I don't know if it's overly common in school district statements, but the idea is that the Redmond School District is stronger as a member of this community. It's stronger as the community is engaged with it. Part of our goal is to figure out how to engage better with the community and ask ways for the community to engage with us. So as you have ideas, if you have thoughts, you have ways that projects can be done, bring them to me, bring it to us, and we'll talk about it, and maybe we find a way to get that done. And that's something that's important to us. How do we bring volunteers into the schools? How do we work on making sure our students are coming out and working as part of the community as well? So that's a long-term goal for us. And then finally, ready graduates, and this is the idea that when people walk out our doors, when students walk out our doors into their next phase of life, they're ready. They're ready to go. They're well educated. They're competent. They're confident in what they can do and what they know how to do. And when they walk into that next step, they can be successful. Those are our overall visions for what we're looking for. Now, of course, each one of those is several multi-million dollars worth of programs making those things happen as we work through that. So. So for some reason, the words on this are coming in weird, and I have to go back and forth. So you probably know that we just elected, we just had new school board members come through. So this is I've been here 2.5 years now, and I've had basically 3 groups of people on the school board. I've had the first board that elected me. Then I had a big changeover of 3 people as they came in, and now we've had 2 of those original those people that elected have resigned and been replaced elected by the school board members. And so really I have had there's one person left on the school board that originally hired me. And that's only in 2.5 years. Okay, so it's been an interesting, from my point of view, it's been an interesting path forward in trying to do what the community would like us to do as we're working through that. So, but with that, we just selected a new person. We've had 2 of these since May. We've had our first time around, we had 24 people apply to be a school board member, so clearly there's interest. The second time around, 23 people applied. The board selected 5 people for interviews, and they selected Bob Perry on November 9th for our new member. Now his appointment only lasts until May, because it's just kind of a fill-in spot. And when it comes into May, we will have 4 out of 5 open slots that people can apply to be school board members. So if anybody ever wanted to be a school board member, now's your chance. We're looking for people who are interested in helping us achieve. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm really new to the area, so there's no election by the public in general for school board members?
There is, once every 2 years.
2 years?
Yes. So every 2 years, either it's a board of 5. So in 1 year, 2 years will be 2 people will be elected, and then the next time around it'll be 3. So it goes 2 and 3. It's when people quit, the board can appoint in the middle.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. At large or zone?
All 5 positions are at large here in Redmond. In many places they're zoned. If you go to Salem, for instance, they have ticket zones, but all 5 positions here are at large. So anyway, anybody know anybody that wants to run for the school board? We're looking for good candidates, people who want to help us achieve our vision. Oops, wrong way. All right. So safety and security, the big thing coming into this year, well, in everybody's mind, the question everybody asks me is, how are you keeping our students safe? That's what people want to know about. We've had school shootings and mass shootings continue. They continued all summer. They're continuing to continue. We just had one last week, or maybe last few days ago, in Virginia. These things continue to happen. So people ask me, well, what are you doing about it? Quite a lot. Quite a lot. But the first thing to realize is that school safety is really everybody's responsibility. It takes a community vigilance. People have to pay attention to folks that might be overly angry, who are speaking out, who are talking about social media, or just saying things that are making the hairs prickle on the back of your neck. If you see those things, report them. Talk about it. You can also connect with the Safe Schools hotline. If you want to do that anonymously and talk about things, Safe Schools hotline is run by the state police. And you can call in, and anytime you think there might be a threat, that message will get to somebody in the school district or our police department, and we can work on it. So community-wise, it's everybody's responsibility to help work through that. But we do have a very positive and productive relationship with our police department. The police chief and I are on the phone quite often. We talk about things. We have 5 school resource officers inside our 13 buildings. 1 at each high school, stationed permanently, 1 at each middle school, stationed permanently, and then they sort of circulate through the elementary schools as they need to. And then we have a sheriff who works at both Terrebonne and Tumalo, since they're more in the sheriff's area. And so that kind of moves back and forth. Our relationship with the police department is strong. We have a great working relationship. And so those folks do that. But really, school security isn't just about having somebody in the schools. That is really a very small part of it. There's really 3 types of school security, at least I'm measuring this way. First, there's preventative. What are we doing to stop things before they happen? And because of that, we have lots of counselors. We have the 5 SROs. We have our entire mental health system, our own little mental health system built inside the schools. We call it the BRIGHT program. And the BRIGHT program works with students who are experiencing a heightened level of emotional distress. And so we work with folks to kind of reorientate them and re-regulate them so they can think about that. So we're always watching, we're always talking, our teachers are always looking, we're training people all the time. Physical security, we're working as a school district to bring ourselves down to single points of entry at every building. Not every one of our buildings yet has a secure vestibule, so people come in and they're locked in before they can come in. But we should have all that in place by the end of next summer. We just did a big remodel at Obsidian Middle School, and that's primarily what it was for. We moved the entire office structure from the middle of the room, the middle of the building to the side. We built secure vestibules. We rerouted how the traffic came in. You've probably seen the big fences that have come in there to direct where students go and where people go and as they move into the building. That doesn't make a building safe and secure, but it does slow people down that might want to do it harm. So that's a piece of it. We've got great video surveillance systems going on. Our video surveillance systems are being upgraded. They're very high tech. You can go into it and say, somebody saw somebody with a yellow sweater who might have had a gun. And you can type into the surveillance system, I need to see anybody that's wearing yellow. And boom, it'll find it for you. And so it's got that kind of capabilities to it. They're pretty amazing. Plus, when we're done with the system, the police will be able to access it from their office and be able to take a look at what we're doing in our schools from the station if they need to. So that's important from that security. All of our outside doors are locked at all times, so people can't just come into the buildings. Okay. Operational responses, we do a lot of work with what's called the Standard Response Protocol. And this has to do with what we do when something happens, right? You've probably heard the term, schools in lockdown. Well, what does that mean? Well, that's part of the Standard Response Protocol, and that means kids are hiding. They're under desks. They're like. We also have other commands like hold, which means you need to stay in your classrooms. Don't come out. Or we're going to secure the building, which means we're going to lock the outside doors and not let anybody in and out. Those kind of things happen all the time, and we have those various security statuses based on whatever's happening in the community. For instance, long ago, when I was a vice principal at a high school, the police were chasing somebody. They were chasing him down the highway that went right next to that high school I worked at, and the guy was shooting out the windows. Really, seriously. And so in that situation, we put the building into a hole. Nobody goes in, nobody goes out. If the person were to pull into our parking lot, they can't get in the building, right? So that's kind of the idea. Or we've been in a place where the police have raided a house, 3 blocks away. We want to make sure the schools are secure. So it's really a preventative status. Sir?
I was just in Chicago and visited one of my grandchildren, actually two of my grandchildren's elementary school, and they just did a knockdown and rebuild. And I was, I guess, surprised to see that the latest approach to security there was total steel walls that come down if there's an intruder or anything there. Bulletproof kind of situations, which on the one hand is encouraging, and I'm wondering if we're looking at doing something similar.
We have not talked about going so extreme because we believe that schools are still an educational institution.
Yeah. Well, it scared me for the kids to see that. It's like, why is this happening?
There's a lot of shootings in Chicago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But this was in a suburban community.
Right.
But it was still a little frightening to see how far it's gone.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, so we do a lot of good work with the police to try and make sure we're ready. So you've probably heard around the state there has been a drop in students. Since the beginning of COVID, about 30,000 public school students no longer go to school in the state of Oregon. Where do they all go? Well, there's home schools. There's quite an outflux of people moving to Idaho. There were moving to private schools. The schools haven't really recovered from that, and we still are short. Our school is still short about 200 students from where we began. But in terms of where we're projecting, we are growing very slightly. So this year we are up 36 students overall. Now we've got in our district without RPA 6,200 kids, with RPA about 7,000. So statistically that's flat, right? But it's not dropping either. We're seeing growth in kindergarten through 5th. We had an increase of about 55 students. Middle school increase of 37, especially at the 6th grade level. We had a big jump over what we projected. On the other hand, high school, we had a decrease of about 33 students. This tends to be the place that we've lost kids where other people have not. Like Bend, for instance, has more high school students than they've lost elementaries. So lots of things happening with that. Part of it is the cost of housing. Where can people live? But our biggest problem we've had at the high school has been kids getting jobs. So kids going out during the pandemic, they got jobs. They're making $20 an hour. Why should I bother to come back to school? So it's not a good long-term decision in terms of their wealth, but in the short-term position, some of them are helping feed their families. And so that's something we're battling it with, working with all kinds of alternative programs to try and get those kids back into school and get them something. That's something that we're experiencing in the school district. School construction. So the Rotary Jaquaw Athletic Fields have opened. If you haven't gone to see those, you really should. This was done. The money came from this, not from bond money, but from we sold a piece of property out in the junipers over there on Antler, I think, and it was sold to Wild Mike's Pizza to come in and build a big facility, which we're very excited about. So we got about $2 million, the school district did on that. We decided instead of just taking that money and putting it in the bank, we were going to do something special with it for the community. And what we did, we dumped it into the Jaquaw fields. Now these are the fields that are right in between Hugh Hartman Elementary School and the high school. And this is it's kind of around on Antler Street. Next to the bus barn. If you haven't been out there, you should really go out there. We've put in the largest piece of continuous turf in the state of Oregon, we believe, and it's a multi-sport facility in that it'll do football, it'll do soccer, it'll do lacrosse. It's a full-size soccer field, which is, most people don't realize that when high school kids play on a football field, that's actually not an actual regulation soccer field. They're bigger than that. Wider especially. So we've got a full size on that. We also have baseball and softball, and we have basically a system where we can adjust between all these different things. It's a 4-season area. If you want to play in the 21-degree weather today, you can out there. Plus, we save ourselves a ton of water with that thing. I think we're saving ourselves $17,000 a year in how much water we're putting on that area. If you didn't know it, the school district is the uses 8% of the water in the city of Redmond. We're actually the biggest water user of anything, and most of that goes to field water for playing. So other things going on. The Obsidian Middle School remodel is almost complete. We're down to punch lists on that. Really did a great remodel of that. Added a great tech lab. Added a bunch of office space. Really remodeled what we're doing there. Lots of fencing and parking lot improvement. The Vern Patrick Elementary additions are adding a wing there. They put the roof trusses on there this week, and so that's going vertical. It looks good. Same thing over at Tom McCall. It's going vertical. We've got these two, and that's an addition of 12 classrooms to our school district. We're meant to pick up some of the construction. As you know, there's been a lot of apartments going in over in the Vern Patrick area. A whole lot of construction going in over at by Tom McCall. Plus Skyline Village, which is supposed to go in next couple years over by the dump on Maple Street in that area. That one's going to have 500 units in it. And so we expect to increase a certain amount of students there, and those areas are meant to pick that up as we go into that. We got added new boilers at Hugh Hartman Elementary, and I better talk faster. Other HVAC systems, the secure vegetables should be done. All kinds of roof projects, and then we got a nice seismic grant for John Tuck Elementary to reinforce the gymnasium at $2.5 million. So that building is all brick. It doesn't do well in earthquakes, and so I'm glad to have that. Luckily, we're not all that earthquake prone in this area, as opposed to when I lived in the valley where it was extraordinary threats. Okay, athletics. As you know, we've shifted to a new league with the Bend schools. That has been bad for us. That has not worked well. It saved Bend a lot of travel time because they were traveling to Salem and back, but it has been rough on us. As we played, you can see boys soccer, 5 wins, 6 losses, 3 ties. So, roughly even that's RHS. Ridgeview, more losses. The football you can see is the big loser, RHS 2-7. RVHS 2-7. Ridgeview actually beat Redmond High in the game in double overtime. It was quite the game. It was something else. But it's not been good for us until hopefully Ben sold this to the OSAA that they'd all drop to 5A because when Caldera comes online, all their schools get smaller. I hope that's true, but right now that school only has through junior, so the senior classes at the Bend High schools are still 6A size classes. They're just considerably larger. In fact, two of those, both Bend and Summit, are in the semifinal for the state championship. It's very likely it will be an all Bend state championship game. So it tells you what that realignment did for us. We were very competitive last year with schools our own size, not so much against the Bend schools. I'm hoping to plaster them in wrestling, though, which is my sport. So, as the ladies mentioned, we've also started our unified sports program, which is really, really neat. If you get a chance to come watch that, it's fantastic. So we have a lot of abled students working with disabled students in competitive athletics, and it's really the kids go out. Everybody's worthwhile. Everybody gets to participate, and it's a whole lot of fun. I went over to one, and there was suddenly an impromptu dance party going on. It was just a great time. So it's a really neat program. I'm so happy we were able to get that instituted this year. State achievement data. So the pandemic was damaging to our kids. You've probably heard that to be true around the nation. Now it wasn't as damaging to ours. I can honestly say as it was in lots of places, but we still took some hits, and we continue to work on trying to make that up. Some big statistics. So K2 regular attenders. So how often kids are attending. You consider to be a regular attender if you're in school more than 90% of the time. So you miss less than 10% of your days, right? We're at 65% compared to the regular rest of Oregon at 65%. Now, K2 is much more about parents' commitment than it is about the kids themselves. Kindergartners don't get themselves to school. And so we have some different attitudes that have developed in our community around some of the education issues. Before the pandemic, we were 81%. So again, you can see the third grade reading. We're at 47% compared to 40% for the state. Before the pandemic, we were at 54%. 8th grade math, 29%, compared to the state at 27. Beginning before the pandemic, we were at 41, number we're never very happy with. 9th grade on track, which means a student has passed 6 out of 7 classes. That's what that means. They're on track to graduate. 78% compared to Oregon 83. Before the pandemic, we were at 88. As you can imagine, we've got a fair amount of resources and effort into that, moving that number up. The on-time graduation rate, we actually made progress on this, and we're continuing to make progress on this. We're at 85% compared to Oregon at 81, which is better than before the pandemic. Yes?
Is the on-time graduation rate because of reduced standards and basically handing a piece of paper to someone that means nothing?
Well, that was true the first year of the pandemic. That was true the first year. There was a lot of let them go, let them get it if you get through it. Not now. Now we've been working hard on getting those standards up. So that was true the first year. I would say last year that's not true.
Do you think these people with these statistics getting certificates this year are really going to be like ready?
They're not going to be as ready as they should be. No. They'll be better than they were. That's all I can say. We're doing our best.
I know you guys are. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
On the second and third lines, where it says third grade reading, 47% of what?
47% of our students who are taking the state assessment test.
Yes. Are they 47% at grade level?
47% are at or above grade level.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yes.
You've got so many different statistics.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hard to
So these are based on state assessment tests. I will tell you that Redmond's data is not very good. The communities in Central Oregon, as a group, opt out on the state assessment tests, and so a huge percentage of our kids, like at the high schools, we have less than 20% of the kids taking it, meaning the data is basically pointless. It doesn't really give us any information. So, in most districts I've worked at, you're at 95% or better on people taking the assessment, so it means something. Here in Central Oregon, that's changed. So we're trying to figure out what to do with that. Okay. People ask me a lot what kind of career tech ed classes are available to students. I get a lot of people say, oh, when I was in school we had shop and you guys have killed all that. Actually, we've got 10 career tech ed tracks that are available for students to do. Ag science, technology, automotive, business management in both schools, computer science, which is a new one for us, construction technology, culinary programs, engineering with electric vehicles and robotics, health occupations, manufacturing, TV and medical production, and welding. So there's a lot of things that kids can learn how to do that are interested in more of a hands-on approach.
I might mention that the high school principal took us on a tour of Redmond's programs.
Yeah.
Not obviously they don't have everybody on that list, but a good percentage.
There's a lot of folks on that list. We have different programs at each high school, so
Yeah,
different ones are in different places. The kids kind of have to make a choice in which they'd like to go.
Before you changed, did you talk college now? I mean, that's a program too.
Right. To tell you the truth, I'm not very familiar with where we're at with college now in our district. In fact, I just had that conversation this morning with some folks. So, how many kids are involved? How many kids are using? So, sorry.
I'm just getting a little jealous. I wish one Rotary's name's up there several times.
You guys are up there in a minute, but yes. We work hard on developing community partnerships. I've listed some of them that are here. We've got the Youth Career Connect, where we're working on doing internships. That's something that both the REA connects to that. They contribute money to that. School district connects with that in terms of we dump money into it. This is part of the READY group, right? Redmond Economic Development, and we put students in internships. We have capacity to do about 40 a year. I'd like to see us move that up to closer to 120 or so, where we have kids get good experiences. Senior Center, we're working with the Senior Center to hire a volunteer coordinator. We don't have that in place yet. We'd like to work with the seniors to, well, the thing of it is there's a lot of retired folks in this community who are quite talented and quite they've just got a lifetime of experience. I'd love to bring those folks in the schools to work with kids. And so we're trying to figure out how to make that work. Yep.
Yeah, I'm on the board of the senior center.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, that's just been a wonderful thing that we could work together on that effort in particular.
Yeah, I'll feel better about it when we actually get a person in place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be good once we're there.
I
Yeah.
thought we're close.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay.
Not that I've heard yet.
All right.
We also have Tech Zoomers over there, which is a neat program. We've got students going and working with seniors to learn how to work with computers, and that's been a neat thing. Meta is actually helping fund that. Kids get a salary on that. Great. Champion Child Care uses our schools before and after school. We've got great systems going with Deschutes County Behavioral Health. Our schools, like every school, has a fair amount of students with substance abuse problems in it. The Upshift program works with our counselors to try and give people some education on what to do about it. We also have a great program going, partnership going with Rimrock Treatment Services, so students can get help on site, and then also that expanding into mental health work. Oasis Village, we're working, our Woods program at RHS is working to help build shelters for the homeless village over there once that gets going. We've got a pretty good program going with Rotary Club. They do fan support. They do literacy where they give books to kids. They do daddy-daughter dance. They do some scholarships and, of course, the fields. We've got this great partnership going with the police and school resource officers. There we go. Lions Club comes in and does hearing and screening. Kiwanis does key clubs. Local churches will adopt some of our schools and help bring resources to them. The Ben Science Station does hands-on science. Community concert will do school outreach for our kids. We just had a great concert where all fourth graders came and listened to it. It was really cool. Very cool. Just so many things that we've got. Local businesses, family, community volunteers. We do a lot of things with the community, and we're always looking for more volunteers to be part of that. We've got great partnerships with education facilities, OSU Cascades, George Fox, and I'm out of time. So
You're good.
Okay. Here's something I want to talk about in terms of school district focus. And this comes back to the kindness thing you were talking about earlier, is where that comes from. So we're really trying to prioritize partnerships and customer service with families. So last year, we started a new thing where we sent out surveys to all of our employees, all of our family members, all of our parents, and all of our students, and asked them some various questions about your experience at the school district. And we got a whole bunch of information back. And so we're using that, as any business would do, as a customer service model and taking a look at how do we serve our customers better. For schools is a relatively new idea, and we're going through that. What we learned was parents told us that they believe that learning is generally a high priority at this school. We scored very high on that. And they feel like they're generally treated with respect. We've heard that. But they feel like they need better communication and feedback from the schools. So we as a school district have been trying to do some very specific work to improve our communications back to the schools, back to parents. Students told us that their learning is important at their school. They believe their principals support safety and learning, but that the students do not treat each other with respect. Of all the things that we surveyed and asked a question, that was the one that we got the lowest numbers on, by far. Students don't feel that they're being treated with respect by their peers. At the elementary, we asked that question, are people nice to you? And a lot of them said, well, no, my friends aren't nice to me, or as we go through that. So what you've seen at the beginning of this year here is what we're calling sort of the kindness campaign. It's really that idea of what do we do to help teach each other to treat each other with respect, to both expect people to treat us with respect, and how do we treat other people with respect. Now that looks very different at different levels. It looks different for a kindergartner than it does for a senior, but all of our schools are focusing on that. When it comes down for beginning of the years, I spent a lot of time talking about behavior norms, establishing good behavior norms. And if you think about it, really as a school district, what we're really trying to do is re-norm the school right now. We're trying to re-norm kids in terms of how do you treat each other in this public setting? How do you become a good student? What does that look like inside the schools? So almost everything that you see in different places right now is about that idea of how do you re-norm a kind of an academic place where people are respectful to each other. Students have got a lot of modeling, especially online, of how not to treat each other well. And so we're working hard to do what we can to stop that. So how are we doing with that? Yeah. It's a long-term bit of work. Absolutely. So So anyway, we're looking to maximize instructional time and evaluating best practices for internal communication, external. I would say that I believe that Redmond Schools are a great place to learn and grow. This is the unified sports group here over at Ridgeview, and I'm very proud to be the superintendent of the school district and be able to serve all of you. So questions I have for you, if you've got any time to talk about it, and if you don't, you can email me too. What I'd like to know is, what are your impressions of what's working well in the school district? What do you feel good about? And the other thing is, if you could add one thing you'd like to improve in the school district, what would it be? So I don't know we have time for discussion today, but if anybody would like to email me directly on that, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay? Chris?
Thank you. I will say, I think just having you out in the public and coming out, that's been something that's, as a father of 3 that are going to be in the system, one already is, that's been very helpful. So thank you for making the time to come out, again, 2 weeks in a row.
Sure.
We can make it the 3rd. So we've got a pin just to say thank you.
Sorry. Oh, thank you very much.
So,
I appreciate it.
well, I appreciate that and what you do, Sharon.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. With that, we will see you all here next week. We're having kind of we do have a speaker, but we will be here next week. And if I don't see you, have a happy Thanksgiving.